Remember, by Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth and how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are all earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember.
In the beginning, nothing made sense. It was chaos. The earth hadn't taken its shape yet. Darkness was everywhere. God's Spirit was already there, moving. God decided to set things in order. God made light and saw that it was good. God named light day and darkness night. God created the sky and separated the water from the land. Plants and trees popped out of the ground. God filled the sea with all kinds of animals, of fish, and God saw that it was good. The sun shone brightly during the day. The moon glowed gently at night. Birds burst into the sky. Bugs buzz through the air. Worms crawl through the dirt. Fields and forests thunder under the feet of all God's animals, and God saw that it was good.
And we share how it is that the heavens and the earth were created, and it was good. And God saw everything that God had made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude. And on the seventh day, God finished the work that God had done. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all of the work that God had done in creation. May God add a blessing to the reading of this word. Today we open ourselves to the wonder of being creatures alive in the midst of God's amazing glory. As I woke up this morning to the sound of the birds, and I don't know how we deserved this, but we have a voracious woodpecker in our backyard. And that is not a melodious sound to wake up to, but it's a good reminder that birds are amazing. And words, human words, are inadequate to name the kind of praise that birds seem to just know how to sing. And I also thought recently about how inadequate words are to sing praise when I met my grandson on Sunday night. Yes! Actually, he was born Sunday night. I got to meet him Monday morning. His name is Felix Mackenzie, and he was born at nearly 9 pounds, and he is a flat-out miracle, of course. Felix knows the way of praise, and certainly he inspires praise. And here I am, a preacher, a woman, a grandmother, who seeks to use words which cannot even come close to naming. How astounding is this creation we are blessed to share. So words being inadequate, I'm going to use them anyway. Happy Earth Day, creatures of the earth. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Theologian Sally McFaig has come up with a theological concept that absolutely opens my heart and pours Earth Day right into it. What she says is she joins the chorus of theologians through the centuries who have said to Jesus followers, listen, God has given us all of this goodness, and yours is not to subdue it and to use it as some sort of tool that God has given you. God has given us creation in order that we would steward it, which is care for it with all of the tenderness and courage that we have. So what McFaig says is this. She talks about the earth as God's very body. Don't you love that? The earth is God's body. So in this season of earth stirring and leaf blasting, and during this time in our history when we are daily witnessing the effects of earth subduing and pillage, we are experiencing floods and hurricanes and fires and threatened air and water quality. In this season of the year and in this season of our history, we, I know we must, ask ourselves, what does it mean to practice resurrection as we look at the body of God, which is our earth? We are nurtured, we are made alive, we are able to live and breathe and have our being because we live as children attached to the umbilicus of the wind and the water and the soil and the goodness of God's earth. Our lives are made possible, and our lives are immeasurably rich through our dependence on God's body, the earth. Physically and spiritually, we are made alive. Do you agree with me? Through God's body, the earth. Can I hear just a small amen? Amen. So, right? We have to care for God's body, the earth, with all of the passion and tender fierceness that we would care for any other body we have been given to love. And there is this. We do not commodify the bodies of our beloveds. Just saying. We do not commodify the bodies of our beloveds. We do not put price tags on the bodies of our beloveds. We acknowledge that the bodies of our beloveds, our grandchildren, our children, our partners, our beloveds, whoever they are, we don't put a price tag on that. So how is it that we who follow Jesus Christ think that somehow there can be a price tag put on the water in the boundary waters? You each have your own flinch places around how commodification of the earth is happening, and I just simply can't go too far into that today. I don't have the heart bandwidth. So I'm not going to be talking about all the places where my heart is breaking, but I think that that's a place we have to go as people of faith. We must go there. We must turn and look into the tomb and see where the body is being brutalized. Right? Today, though, in this season of Easter, instead of talking about all the places where the body is being harmed, I want to talk about how it is we are people of the resurrection and we are people of the life. We are Easter people. We are people of Jesus Christ. And as followers of Jesus, we must proclaim and believe in the power of life that cannot be stoppered by any kind of fear or commodification or violence, right? So what does it mean to be a people of the resurrection? What it means is that we each individually and collectively, we decide that we are going to pay attention, and we are going to honor, and we are going to reverence, and we are going to respect and defend and love bodies. Our own bodies, the bodies of the creatures. How many of you love your dogs? All right then. We should treat the earth with at least a modicum of the love we pour out on our dogs, right? And the air and the water and the soil and the living circulation system that is our earth, all bodies must be protected. So as the followers of Jesus went to that tomb on that long ago Easter to honor the body of their beloved Jesus, they thought he was dead. But they found instead of a dead and mangled body, a life and a promise and a witness and a possibility that was beyond their imagining. And we are those disciples. We are those people who are here to bear witness to the power of that which is yet alive and cannot be slain. As a people of the risen Christ, we bring who we are and what we have, and we bear witness to life. Witness to life that is beautiful and so much larger than our stumbling attempts to even begin to live our thanks. Here at this church, for example, the Hopeful Earth team and the stewards of this ministry, which would be all of you, you are all stewards of this ministry. Did you know that? It's a very important title. Some of the things that we're doing here in this church is there are people who have planted pollinator gardens right outside in our labyrinth. I hope you get a chance to look out there, and I hope that when the call goes out to come out and plant and dig on this property, you will say yes, because it's a fabulous team of people, and the earth is being changed by the love that's being lavished on it. Here at this church, we installed new windows in order to conserve resources. That is caring for the body of God's earth. Here at this church, we have switched to use LED lighting, no small trick, and very important, and we believe that we are called as witnesses of Jesus Christ to do those things we can do, which is plenty. Here at this church, we recycle. And that's part of the call for opening the thrift store. Not only do we get clothes for $1, but we keep those clothes out of landfills, right? And we reuse what's been given us to have. And so when you walk around and you see that I'm wearing your clothes, you say, "Way to go, Pastor Elizabeth, you're recycling." That's a good thing. Here in this church, we have teams of people who go out to sit down with politicians in order that they can be aware that this church is committed to earth healing and sustainability, and we vote. So we make a point of interacting with the systems that are surrounding us so we can go upriver and change the policies that are polluting this land. Here in this church, we refuse to use pesticides on our lawn. Wave at the dandelions as you go by, right? They're beautiful. Here in this church, we take our youth to the Boundary Waters canoe area and unplug them from electronics for a time because that's important. Here in this church, we offer Vacation Bible School. This year, Everybody Matters is the theme. And last year it was around Earth Stewardship. Here in this church, we advocate for getting our kids outside so they can play. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, we didn't get to stay in the house unless it was raining. Really, I'm not kidding you. My mother was tough. When it was nice out and it was not raining, we were outside. And so, here as a church, we're trying to create welcoming spaces for people to be outside. Our playground that just got built, all sorts of ways for kids to get outside and get their feet rooted in the ground. As Pastor Katie said, we do these things and we choose to collude with life over death because we are people of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So a major component of my 3-month leave was an awareness that I wanted to connect with my own body and the body of God's earth. And I wanted to be fully present to the miracle of being a creature alive and able to breathe and move and be fed by the earth. And I wanted to bow in reverence. I was able to bow in reverence or float above the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Who gets to do this? I did. And I wanted to throw myself into being physically challenged, and I was, in New Zealand on an active adventure tour, and I wanted to feel the crunch of the earth, the red earth under my hiking boots in Sedona in Arizona, and really what I wanted to do was stop thinking so much and worrying so much and working so much. Anybody else want to stop doing those things? I'm not alone. What I was seeking was time in wild spaces on God's body. And I was seeking the God-given gift of Sabbath. I was seeking to know my own resurrection and my own new life. God created Sabbath, brothers and sisters. I hope you heard this. God rested after all that God did. God created Sabbath in order that we would understand that we are creatures and we are totally dependent upon God's grace. You did not make your lungs. You did not make the blood to move through your body. You can't control so much in life. It's all gift from the God who created each one of us. And so what does it mean to set aside time and awareness, to reverence the reality that we are creatures in the care of a wildly creative God who has the deepest sense of artistry and poetry? It ought to make us speechless routinely. So what I did on those 3 months really was I had the privilege of destabilizing my life in order to live it more fully. So I say to you on this Earth Sunday, consider the power of being a body alive and sustained on this earth, and all that is sprung from the heart and artistry of our God. We live, you and I, and our dogs and the monarch butterflies. We live in a wonderful, resilient, fragile, and precious world. So together, let us affirm the power of the resurrection and life for all bodies, and let us commit that we will fiercely love and we will fiercely protect all that God has given us. Amen and amen.